Whenever you're invited to make a presentation, always ask yourself why. What's it for? It's almost always to move an audience from A to B, whether it's from ignorant to educated, or indifferent to supportive, or from hostile to accepting. Moving people from A to B. So why then doesn't that happen usually? Well, the problem is that most of the presentations given throughout this country and even the world have got no clear point, no real end point, no point B. Most presentations have no audience benefit, and for any audience to listen, pay attention and make changes, they've got to recognise that there will be a benefit for them. Most presentations have got no clear flow. They go all round the houses, but there is no clear, efficient, straight route from A to B. Most have got way too much information in, too much detail, too many references, too many examples, and that of course makes presentations too long. If you're asked the time, you don't respond with instructions of how to build a clock. So avoid data dumps. Data dumps are fine during preparation, but not during delivery. The working memory usually can only handle around 7 new things, so trying to cram many things into a presentation just clogs up the working memory and usually just results in me go, mine eyes glaze over. So your presentation and the delivery of it is not the place for a data dump. The trick is to get your story straight, get a very clear pathway between A and B, straight as you can, with as few steps as you can, but achieving champagne moments, light bulb moments, where the audience just get what you're saying and are saying to themselves, oh, right, okay, I see. And to do that, you're probably going to have to spend much more time on any solutions rather than problems. Currently, a lot of presentations focus mainly on problems and don't provide enough solutions. And do make sure that at the end there's a call to action and the audience know what they're going to go out of the auditorium to do to be better and safer. So all this is about planning. Positive planning precedes perfect performance. And you start with the purpose. What is the purpose of your presentation? What is it for? And I found no better way than taking a piece of paper and writing that purpose, short and succinct, in the middle of the piece of paper, and then doing my data dump, writing down as many points, notes, bits of evidence, examples, images I know that I've got. I will put them all down on one piece of paper. That's the time for the data dump. And then you work out the flow. You work out your end point, B, your start point, A, and the right flow between the two, and you pull in any of the data from your dump that will help you do that, and you ditch the rest of it. Then come your examples and stories. And use big, powerful examples and stories. And in my dad's words, tell them how big the fire is, not where you bought the matches. Just give them enough detail to bring your example or your story alive. And only then do you consider visual aids. Now we'll go back to visual aids after I've had a word about practice. Winston Churchill, for every minute he made a presentation in public, did an hour's practice. And I usually have to do more than that to sound spontaneous and to feel absolutely comfortable and be able to concentrate on the audience rather than myself. So back to visual aids. A picture paints 1,000 words. If we know that, why do so many of our visual aids actually turn out to be visual hindrances? Ditch as much text as you can and use images when you can. No more than 5 eye sweeps per slide. Don't be tempted to go for the belt and braces approach of showing an image, writing something about it on the slide and telling. Show and tell in this situation doesn't work. It overfaces the audience. So show, not text and tell. Overfacing the audience gets in the way of the audience getting your message and harms learning. So no more than 5 eye sweeps per slide. And when it comes to slide rules, minimize eye sweeps, no more than 5 words on a bullet point or in a title, certainly no blocks of text, and think about your font. You can see here that this is Times New Roman. Times New Roman font was designed for the Times newspaper to cram as many words as possible onto a page, which was very economical. But on a slide, that's not a good thing to do. What you want is for the audience to be able to get the message quickly and easily, and fonts make a big difference. Sans serif fonts, you can see, are the same size here as they are here, but this is much, much easier to read. Upper or lower case? You can answer that question by reading this block of text yourself. So as a rule, lowercase text is much quicker to read than uppercase text. Now let's have a look at some slides. The top slide here, you can see, is full of text with some funny little bubbles. I don't know what that's about. Low contrast font and background, which slows reading. Blocks of text, which slows reading. This and this slide are saying exactly the same. But you could drive past the slides on the bottom at 70 miles an hour and still get the same message as the one above here. So less is more. Here's the example of a slide shown at a European course a couple of years ago. And you can see here for yourself where the problem lies. Way more than 5 eye sweeps. A data dump. Low contrast font and background. Red on black is slow to read. Blue on black is slow to read. What do all these mean? Graphs over here with the key away from the lines on the graph. Difficult to interpret. We should be able to drive past your slide at 70 miles an hour and get the message. Too much information. This was another slide shown at another learned society. Now this came in springing in, lots of animation, and as soon as anything moves on a slide, it will draw the audience's eye. Now, if that's helping us learn for some reason, that's okay. If it's not, it's just for effect, ditch it. Get rid of anything on your slide that isn't strictly necessary to help us learn. All this needs to be covered up. We need to be able to go straight to what we're looking at, which is, interestingly, underneath here. Here's another slide shown at a learned society. Numbers need to be turned into graphs. Numbers in a table for the audience have to be changed into something that they can interpret before they can ever decide what that has to do with their practice or what's important about it. So do that work for them and let them use their mental digestion to decide why it's important, not try and fight their way through a whole load of information on a background that is frankly irrelevant. Here's another good example. This is saying the same as this, but you can get the message from this one so much more quickly and easily. Many of us use x-rays in our presentations. And think about displaying them on a black background. They're quicker and easier to interpret. Thank you slides, which are so popular throughout the world, with images that are often irrelevant and the words thank you written on them. And when I ask presenters why, they say, well, it's so that people know it's the end. When you create your point B, your final closure, that needs to be really powerful. That's your call to action, and that's what the audience are going to go away doing. So don't dilute it by showing an irrelevant picture and writing thank you. You can say a quiet thank you and step away from the lectern, but leave people with that final summary slide and the call to action. So, presentations, and really powerful presentations, are about taking an audience from A to B. They are not data dumps. They are not to be filled with loads and loads of information. Your job is not to be a purveyor of information. Your job is usually to persuade. It's not to impress. It's not to entertain. It's not to transmit information. That will happen if you do your job right. So, if you want to learn more about how to prepare powerful presentations and how to deliver them, then do make contact through this website, lisa@baylisconsulting.co.uk, and I'd be delighted to help you.